Incredible 8-year-old exposes billionaire's cruelty, unveiling a life-changing message for all. Jamie's heart raced as she painted bright colors on her poster, the smell of markers filling the tiny apartment she shared with her mother. She was just a kid, but there was something truly magical about the community center down the street. It was her sanctuary, a place where dreams took flight amid laughter and song. After school, when her mom was busy serving tables, Jamie would lose herself in art classes, connecting with friends who felt more like family. They would play, explore their imaginations, and learn together, each crafting their futures amid the faded walls that held their dreams. But one day, while placing glitter on her poster for the upcoming talent show, she overheard a conversation that echoed like a thunderclap. Mr. Alden, the billionaire whose mansion glimmered in the distance, was slashing funds from the very place that meant everything to her refuge, the community center. This wasn't just about money. It was about hope, about kindness, about kids like her who deserved a chance to shine. The weight of his greed felt like a punch, knocking the breath out of her. Determined, Jamie rallied her friends as they fashioned signs, each one bursting with heart and passion. "Community is family," they shouted, voices rising with youthful power. They marched to Mr. Alden's gates, standing tall, small but fearless against the colossal mansion. News crews began to arrive, capturing the image of spirited children demanding justice. The air was electric. Mr. Alden simply scoffed, dismissing them as a childish nuisance. That made Jamie's stomach twist with anger. How could someone forget their roots? She felt in her bones that he needed to hear her message. If they could only show him the kindness that formed the lifeblood of their community. But then, amid the uproar, Jamie stumbled upon an old article about Mr. Alden, one detailing his struggles growing up in a low-income neighborhood, just like her own. Could it be that he had once faced the same hardships? A crack in her indignation began to form, revealing compassion. As her friends grew tired, Jamie's determination transformed into empathy. She yearned to confront him, to remind him of the dreams they both had, the dreams that had once filled his hungry heart with hope. Clutching her colorful sign, she made her way through those pristine gates. Fear gnawed at her, but deeper still was her belief in the words she was about to speak. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Standing before him, the air thick with tension, Jamie's heart pounded in her chest. Would she find the courage to speak up? Would he be willing to listen? The fate of her beloved community swirled around her like a whirlwind, and all she could do was hope that her words would ignite a spark in his heart. What if she failed, leaving their dreams to shatter against the concrete of indifference? Everything rested on this moment, and the future of her community hung in the balance. With her heart thundering in her ears, Jamie took a deep breath. The garden looked immaculate around her. Lush, vibrant flowers swayed in perfect harmony, as if the world itself held its breath. Yet all she could see was Mr. Alden's stern face, a granite figure who towered over her, arms crossed and lips curled in disdain. "Who do you think you are?" he bellowed, his voice slicing through her resolve. Jamie squared her shoulders as she fought to find her words. "I'm Jamie. I come from the community center. It's where we dream, learn, and grow." His gaze remained fixed, unyielding like the walls of his mansion. "And you, what do you know of my struggles? You think I'm just going to give away my money?" "I know what it's like to struggle," Jamie replied, her voice stronger now. "But you also know that it's about more than money. It's about people. It's about hope." She gestured back toward the gates, where her friends stood, faces painted with determination, signs held high that spoke of love and unity. "We need that place. We need a chance." The murmur of the small crowd behind her grew louder. The news crews filmed nervously, their cameras capturing the raw emotion of the moment. A flicker of something crossed Mr. Alden's face, maybe a hint of remembrance, but it was gone in an instant, replaced by indignation. "What do you expect me to do, child? Hand out charity? This is a business." Jamie wasn't ready to back down. "It's not charity if you give something to grow the future. If you don't help us, who will? Do you want your name to be remembered for kindness or for taking away our dreams? Silence fell, heavy and thick. The world around them seemed to pause, holding the weight of her challenge. Jamie could hear her own breath and the distant chirping of birds, each sound punctuating the intensity of the moment. Mr. Alden's expression didn't change at first. He remained stiff, almost like a statue. But then, something shifted. His eyes softened just a fraction, as though he were momentarily transported back to a time of struggle and hope in his own youth. Maybe you're right, he finally said, half-heartedly. The crowd drew in a collective breath, unsure if they had really heard him. Can't you see? Jamie pleaded, her own heart softening as she sensed vulnerability behind his bravado. We're not asking for a handout, we're asking to build something. For you too. You once had dreams, didn't you? Don't you want to give that to our generation? A flicker of conflict crossed Mr. Alden's face. Jamie felt the full weight of her words hang in the air. He turned slightly, as if considering something far away, yet close enough to touch. But before she could grasp at hope, he steeled himself once more. Listen, kid. The world doesn't owe you anything. You've got to fight for it. His harsh tone cut deep, and Jamie felt her heart sink. But then, almost unnoticed, she heard the whispers from her friends behind her, murmurs of encouragement blending into a chorus of support that wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Mr. Alden took a step back, eyeing them with growing uncertainty. Jamie could feel the tension between them shift as his facade began to crack. Would he turn away completely, or would he consider her plea? Just then, a voice from the crowd broke through. Mr. Alden. It was one of Jamie's friends. You were one of us once. Help us remember that. Jamie watched as Mr. Alden glanced back and forth between her passionate determination and the hopeful eyes of the crowd. The air felt electric with possibility. What if he could become an ally instead of an adversary? As Jamie prepared to speak again, a hint of uncertainty flickered in Mr. Alden's eyes. Would he find empathy in his heart? The next seconds felt like hours, each heartbeat echoing with both fear and hope. Would this be the moment that changed everything? The silence stretched on, the tension pulling at everyone's heartstrings. Jamie could see it, the hesitation in Mr. Alden's posture, the way his fingers twitched as if he were wrestling with an unseen burden. The crowd was now a living entity, breathing together, pulsating with anticipation that wrapped around them like a clenched fist. Could this really be their moment? Your legacy matters, Jamie called out, her voice steady but filled with urgency. It's not just about what you've built. It's about what you can build now, what lives you can change. Mr. Alden's eyes darted between Jamie and her friends. Each glimmer of hope they radiated was a sharp wiggle beneath his hardened exterior. He was a man trapped in a web of his own creation, but perhaps he didn't have to be. Do you really think that I can make a difference? He muttered, almost contemplatively. We believe you can. The crowd chimed, their voices a melodic bump of energy that echoed through the garden. A moment later, the heaviness shifted. Jamie saw a subtle change in Mr. Alden's expression, a flicker of vulnerability that he didn't want to admit to himself. What if, just what if, he really did remember being young, filled with dreams and vision? I'm too far gone, he finally admitted, his voice a quiet break from the usual bravado. What difference can I make at this point? Jamie's heart raced. It was a crack in his armor. This was the beat before the fall, an opportunity to push through. You have a chance to change. It's never too late to decide that you want to help for you and for everyone who looks up to you. Show us that you're more than just a rich man. Show us you are a part of this community. His brows furrowed deeply. Community? More like a constant reminder of what I had to fight to escape. I built my empire, Jamie. I worked for everything I have. You think it just comes to me? What is the point of having an empire if the kingdom has no heart? Jamie replied, a pleading tone slipping into her words. Isn't it worth anything without love? Without people? Suddenly, it was as if the crowd's energy surged, filling the space with palpable connection. Some started chanting, change, change. Others held their signs high, reminding everyone of the hope they dared to dream. Mr. Alden's hardened facade began to crack further, his brow smoothing as he fought against whatever secrets had haunted him all these years. For a brief moment, Jamie saw a glimmer of the man behind the wealth. He was scared, lost in a world where real connections felt like whispers swept away by the wind. The moments stretched on, each heartbeat heavier than the last. Jamie held her breath, wondering if she dared to hope. But before she could catch a hint of his response, a shout broke through from the very back of the crowd. "What will it be, Mr. Alden? Will you step into the light? Will you be our champion?" At this, the tension broke like a wave crashing against the shore. Everything hung on his next words. They were a fragile thread connecting all their futures. Mr. Alden stared out at the crowd, the whispers, the expectant eyes of those who just wanted a chance. Would he fight the tide or let it sweep him away? Just as he opened his mouth to speak, a sudden commotion erupted at the entrance of the garden. A tall figure pushed through the crowd, agitated and shouting. "Wait, you'll want to hear this." All eyes shifted, curiosity peeking around them. Jamie's heart raced again, this time with anxiety. What could possibly derail this moment? She looked back at Mr. Alden, his expression unreadable now. Would the chaos unravel the possibility for change, or was there something even more critical about to come to light? The figure pushing through the crowd was small in stature, but held a determination that seemed to radiate from him like a beacon. As he made his way to the front, Jamie's heart sank at the sight of an 8-year-old boy. His cheeks were flushed, and his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and urgency. "Hey, everyone!" the boy shouted, his voice small but piercing. It cut through the tension like a knife. The crowd quieted, curiosity shifting back toward him. The boy was clutching a crumpled piece of paper, his tiny hands shaking with every gesture he made. "Please, I need to tell Mr. Alden something." He stumbled over the words, clearly afraid but pressing forward. The adults around him exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond to a child so fervent. But Jamie felt a spark of recognition. This kid was like her, someone who didn't back down in the face of feared NMR. Alden's eyes narrowed, an impatient frown etched across his forehead. "What is it, kid?" he said, his tone sharp. Undeterred, the boy took a breath and began reading from the paper in his hands. My name is Billy, and I'm in the after-school program your foundation funded last year. I just wanted to say I thought you'd be nice. You know, you're a billionaire and all." A stir went through the crowd as Billy hesitated, swallowing hard. "But I learned that you, cut the funding this year." His voice cracked, and Jamie's heart ached for him. "Yeah, funding cuts happen," Mr. Alden replied, crossing his arms. The indifference in his tone thickened the air. "No," Billy shouted, his brave little heart taking over. "It's not just money. That program is our way out. We learned how to read better, how to dream big. You'd know that if you cared." Some in the crowd gasped at his audacity. Jamie felt tears prick her eyes. The raw honesty of the moment washed over her. Damaging lies about who someone was could only hold power when the truth remained hidden in shadows. Billy's face turned red from what might have been embarrassment or anger. He kept going. "Mr. Alden, you said there's a community, and it's important to you. But if you take away our program, you're taking away our hope. Please don't make us feel like we're not worth it." The crowd was shifting again, energy pulsing like a live wire. Jamie could see empathy spreading across faces, many recognizing the profound weight of Billy's words. Even Mr. Alden began to visibly tense, his mask slipping as he processed the kid's heartbreaking plea. "Wait," Mr. Alden finally said, his voice softer, yet tinged with disbelief. "You say it's hope? Hope that a couple of resources can turn you into something?" "Yes," Billy exclaimed, voice rising triumphantly, fueled by the crowd's reaction. "A little hope goes a long way, Mr. Alden. Just look at all these people. They believe you can change lives like ours." The ripple of realization spread throughout the garden. This was more than a speech. This was life. These were dreams, voices intertwined in a wave of shared struggle. Everyone felt it. The stakes were higher than just finances. They were about futures. Jamie watched Mr. Alden wrestle internally, the veneer of wealth cracking wide open under the weight of sincerity and an 8-year-old boy's unfiltered truth. As the moment hung, suspended in the air, a question lingered. Would Mr. Alden embrace the challenge put forth by a child and capture the hearts of the community, or would he turn his back on the chance to rewrite his story? Just then, over the murmurs and whispers of hesitant hope, Jamie spotted someone moving toward them, an older woman in the back, her face lined with concern. What could she possibly add to this critical moment? The older woman's stride was steady, her eyes fixed on the boy that held the crowd in rapture. Jamie recognized her immediately. Mrs. Thompson, the beloved librarian who had dedicated her life to nurturing young minds in the community. She was a fixture, a constant beacon of warmth for the children in the neighborhood. Despite her age and the slight stoop of her back, Mrs. Thompson exuded a potent mix of wisdom and fervor. "Billy," she called, weaving through the crowd. "You're doing so well, sweetheart." Her voice broke slightly, a testament to the pride she felt for him. Billy glanced back, caught off guard by the sudden encouragement and the familiarity. "Mrs. Thompson, you don't have to explain. I understand," she said softly, her gaze shifting to Mr. Alden. "I've watched those kids grow, and I've watched them learn. That program isn't just a project, it's their lifeline." Mr. Alden's frown deepened, but the hard lines on his face softened around the edges, just a bit. "It's not feasible. The costs are astronomical. We can't fund every charity request, especially when times are tough. But you can make a choice," Mrs. Thompson replied firmly, stepping closer to him, as if her resolve could bridge their huge divides. "You can decide to invest in these children, the next generation. They're not just numbers, they're dreams waiting to happen." The silence that followed was charged. Jamie observed the other adults, some nodding along. The murmurs among them became a chorus of agreement. She felt a shiver of hope. If only Mr. Alden could let go of his skepticism, perhaps something monumental could occur. Billy's tiny frame trembled with the weight of the moment. "Mr. Alden, please, it doesn't have to be impossible. You can help us. We'll show you how important this is." As he spoke, Jamie's mind raced. She recalled the late nights she had spent poring over library books, hungry for a future that felt out of reach. She thought of every child just like Billy who had swung through those doors with eyes full of possibility and dreams destined to be deposited into the air, just like seeds waiting to blossom. But would Mr. Alden see it that way? If he didn't, then those hopes and dreams could be left to wilt and decay. The community thrummed with anticipation, all eyes focused on the billionaire who had grown so accustomed to being untouchable. Meanwhile, Jamie felt a surge of courage, something beckoning her to add her voice to the growing tide. "Mr. Alden," she called out, stepping forward. "You were once just a kid with hopes and dreams too. Please remember what it feels like to reach for something better. Don't let your history dictate the future of these children. Be the man who changes lives, not just the one who measures them." Mr. Alden's brow furrowed as he absorbed Jamie's words. For a moment, the air felt tense, almost electric, suspended in an uncertain balance of possibility. Before he could respond, Mrs. Thompson leaned in. "You can write a different story, Mr. Alden. Look at them. Look at us. We just want a chance to show the world what we can do." But then, before anything could unfold, a voice cut through the moment, sharp and bitter. "You think you're owed something just because you speak from the heart? This is business, not charity." Everyone turned to see a man snaking through the crowd, his expression a mix of contempt and disbelief. Jamie's heart raced. Who was this person, and how could they disrupt what was potentially a turning point? Would the wave of hope built by Billy and Mrs. Thompson crash against such cold words? As tension thickened, all eyes centered on Mr. Alden again, waiting for his reaction. Would he side with his deeper convictions or hide in the shadow of hard-nosed business? The potential for change hung in the air, tantalizingly close yet frighteningly fragile. What would Mr. Alden choose? Mr. Alden's gaze flickered between the man who had interrupted and the hopeful faces of Billy, Mrs. Thompson, and Jamie. The crowd held its breath, waiting for him to respond. His clenched fists gradually relaxed, but the tension in his jaw remained tight. "You're right," he finally said, his voice steady but low. "Business isn't charity. But change is often hard to measure." He studied the ground for a moment, as if searching for answers in the dust at his feet. The uncertainty in his tone sent ripples across the crowd. "Do you truly believe that?" Jamie pressed, stepping closer. "You know the companies you invest in are built on profits and loss. But what about the return on investment in lives, in futures? Can you even begin to imagine the impact you'd make?" "Impact can't be quantified in dollars," Mr. Alden replied, his voice tightening again. "You have to understand that now." Billy suddenly shouted, his voice strong and unwavering. "You don't see us as real people. You see us as projects or numbers on a spreadsheet. We're not just a line item. We're here, we're alive, and we want to be seen." The crowd erupted into applause, echoing Billy's passion. Jamie felt warmth spread through her chest at his boldness, his tiny frame radiating a tremendous force. Was this the spark that could ignite a fire of change? But Mr. Alden's eyes narrowed as he looked at the boy. Jamie could almost see the wheels turning in his mind, the clash of ideas battling it out behind those steely blue eyes. "Fine," he said finally, raising his hand to quell the applause. "If you want to show me the value, prove it. I want a proposal, something tangible to weigh against the costs. Numbers, plans, details. If you can convince me that this can actually work, then I'll consider it." The crowd broke into excited chatter. Hope flashed in Jamie's mind. They could do this. They had ideas. Billy's program, with all its potential, could be reborn into something actionable, something impossible to deny. Tension bristled in the air, but it was colored now with a sense of determination. Jamie turned to Billy, whose eyes shone with a newfound purpose. She could see he was ready to rise to the challenge, ready to transform that feverish ambition into something real. "Let us show them," Billy shouted, grinning from ear to ear, energy flowing from him like wind filling up sails. The crowd roared in support, their energy peaking like a roaring wave ready to crash. But then, doubt snagged in Jamie's thoughts. How could they pull this off? They were just kids with scars and dreams. She exchanged glances with Mrs. Thompson, the weight of her own insecurities creeping in. What if they didn't have what it took? What if this was just another disappointment waiting to happen? "Meet us here in 2 weeks," Jamie called out to Mr. Alden, her voice shaking slightly but resolute. "We'll bring you our plan." His expression was unreadable, yet a hint of a smile tugged at one side of his mouth. "We'll see what you can do," he replied, his tone deceptively casual. As he turned to leave, Jamie felt a fresh wave of adrenaline coursing through her. The crowd began to disperse, chatter buzzing with excitement and optimism. "Well done, Jamie," Mrs. Thompson said, beaming. "You've given them a chance." "I just hope we can grasp it," Jamie replied, uncertainty creeping into her voice. Could they really deliver in 2 weeks? As the feeling of hope and fear mixed together inside her, Jamie felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The clock was ticking, and the challenge ahead felt monumental. Would they rise to the occasion, or would they stumble under the pressure? Glancing at Billy, who was still buzzing with excitement, she knew they had to gather everyone. They needed to channel that energy into a plan, but how? "The moment of truth is coming," Jamie whispered to herself, an undercurrent of determination sweeping through her veins, as a new challenge arose like the dawn of a brand new day. With the clock ticking, Jamie could feel her heart quicken. They needed a plan, and quick. She turned to Billy, who was still riding the wave of excitement, his eyes sparkling with potential. He seemed ready to dive into a world filled with possibilities, and she admired his fearlessness. "Okay, let us get everyone together," Jamie said, fighting to keep her own worries at bay. "We need to brainstorm. We need to think big and think smart." Billy nodded vigorously, his youthful eagerness contagious. They raced over to Mrs. Thompson, who was just gathering her things. "Mrs. Thompson, we need your help," Jamie exclaimed. "Absolutely. What do you need?" she replied, instantly supportive. Billy grinned. "We're going to create a proposal, something that will blow Mr. Alden's mind." As they gathered more kids from the community center, the atmosphere felt electric. They tossed around ideas, voices overlapping in a delightful chaos. Some wanted to focus on the program's community benefits, while others wanted to emphasize emotional stories of how Billy's program had already changed lives. "I think we should include testimonials," Jamie suggested as she scribbled furiously in a notebook. "People can tell Mr. Alden how much this matters to them. It's powerful to hear it from them." "Yeah, but we also need data," Billy countered. "We can show how many kids might benefit if he invests. Numbers can be just as strong if we use them right." A brainstorming frenzy ensued. They divided responsibilities. Billy would gather stories, Jamie would manage the proposal's wording, and Mrs. Thompson would help compile the data they needed. As the sun dipped low in the sky, they each took their roles, fueled by the moment. Days blurred together as they worked. They met every afternoon at the center, laughter echoing through the hallways as they pieced together their plans. They spoke with other kids, sharing hopes and fears while digging deep to find the heart of their initiative. No one noticed when the weight of doubt began to settle over Jamie like a thick fog. What if their hard work didn't matter? What if Mr. Alden wasn't impressed? What if everything fell apart in the last moments? You've got to chill out, Jamie. We've come this far. Billy reassured her one afternoon as they worked on the proposal. His enthusiasm was infectious, and Jamie couldn't help but smile. You're right, she said, taking a deep breath. It's going to be okay. We have to trust in what we're creating. As the deadline approached, tension mounted. Jamie double-checked every detail of their proposal, ensuring they covered all angles. It was a blend of facts and emotions, of numbers and stories, and she hoped it painted the beautiful picture they envisioned on the night before they would present to Mr. Alden. The nerves in Jamie's stomach twisted tighter. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. They were defenseless in this, after all. Then she remembered Billy's rallying cry, his fervor ringing in her ears. Let us show them. With newfound determination, she took her phone out, sending a message to the group. Tomorrow is the day we show him how real we are. Jamie closed her eyes, hoping for strength, for a belief that each of them possessed something worthy to share. As the sun began to rise, she knew they had to be ready, no matter the outcome. Everything rested upon that meeting with Mr. Alden, and they needed to unveil their hearts and dreams. But as Jamie prepared for the battle ahead, a troubling thought lingered in her mind. Would they be enough to change his worldview? Tomorrow would tell them everything. Jamie woke to the sound of her heart thumping in her chest. Sunlight streamed through her window, casting a warm glow over her room. Today was the day. The weight of the proposal hung heavy on her mind, crossing paths with her hopes and fears. She got up, each step echoing a silent mantra. We can do this. She dressed quickly, a flurry of motion, but her mind was racing 1,000 miles ahead. Would Mr. Alden listen? Would he really understand why their initiative mattered? Downstairs, her mom was sipping coffee, eyes drawn to the newspaper. Jamie's breath caught as she noticed the headline. Local philanthropist to decide on major community project. It felt like the world was watching. Good luck today, Jamie, her mom said, sensing her tension. Just be yourself. Thanks, Mom, Jamie replied with a wavering smile. It was hard to appear calm when inside. She felt like a storm was brewing. At the community center, the sun hung higher, casting a golden hue over the parking lot. Kids were milling about, some running in circles, others chatting nervously. Billy's sheer excitement was palpable as he bounded over to her. Are you ready? He asked, eyes sparkling with determination. Not really, Jamie admitted, though his enthusiasm brought a flicker of courage to her heart. I can't wait to see the look on Mr. Alden's face when he hears our stories. It's going to be epic. He punched the air with a fist, a reminder that today was about more than just words. It was their voices rising together as the minutes ticked away. Their small group gathered in a corner of the center. Eyes lit with a mix of nervousness and resolve. They took turns affirming one another. Testimonials were flowing, and tears shimmered in the corners of eyes, mostly unspoken feelings about what Billy's initiative meant to them. You guys don't understand, one kid said. This program is my safe place. It lets me be me. Their words filled Jamie's heart with warmth. These were the moments that mattered, the essence of what they were fighting for. 5 minutes. Mrs. Thompson called out, eyes glittering with optimism. They huddled closer, hands joined in a circle. On 3, Billy said, we shout change. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Change. The shout echoed in the hall, and a rush of energy swept through them, fortifying their spirits. The conference room door loomed ahead. Its imposing presence felt like a gate into an unknown realm. Jamie took a deep breath. They had prepared for this. They had poured their hearts into every number, every story. Moments later, Mr. Alden entered, and the air felt electric. He adjusted his glasses, peering at the colorful display they had prepared. Jamie's throat tightened. She could barely contain her racing thoughts. Good morning, everyone, Mr. Alden said, curiosity hitching his tone. What do you have for me today? Billy stepped forward, confidence oozing from him. Jamie held her breath, her heart pounding. But something inside her trembled. What if this was it? The moment that would either change everything or fade away like so many dreams. She looked around at her friends, their faces a mix of hope and fear. This was bigger than any of them, yet together, they were unstoppable. Just as Billy began to speak, Jamie felt a rush of urgency wash over her. This was only the beginning. But would it turn into a story of triumph? Or would they be left wondering what might have been? She could only hope that today, change would begin. Billy's voice rang out, strong and clear. His passion was infectious as he laid out the foundation of their initiative. He spoke about their dreams of creating a community center where every kid could feel at home, an escape from life's harsh realities. Jamie watched him, the way his hands animated every word, his eyes shining with determination. And yet, as proud as she felt, a tight ball of anxiety settled in her stomach. The room was still as he reached the part where he shared their individual struggles. Billy nodded towards Jamie. She understood the signal and stepped up, heart racing. The air thickened as she spoke about the isolation that many faced, the loneliness that came with feeling different in a world that only seemed to celebrate conformity. "I'm here today," Jamie stated, her voice wavering, "to show you that we matter. We need a space that embraces every story, every struggle. We need a community that lifts us all." Her words hung in the air, a fragile yet hopeful plea. Mr. Alden's expression shifted. For a moment, Jamie thought he might smile. But instead, he appeared lost in thought, as if weighing each word. It made the silence feel heavier, pressing on her chest like a weight she couldn't lift. More voices chimed in, each friend sharing their piece of the story. Each testimony was a thread, weaving together a tapestry of resilience and hope. Jamie felt new energies surging through her as they shared moments of laughter amid the seriousness, reminding each other of the joy their project could bring. Finally, it was time for questions. Mr. Alden placed his hands on the table, leaning slightly forward, and Jamie held her breath once more. "This is quite an ambitious project," he began, "but what makes you believe the community will support you?" The question lingered like frost in the air. Jamie felt the warmth of her friends around her, their belief in what they were building giving her strength. She dove into an explanation about their outreach efforts, how they had spoken with families, gathered signatures, and even had local businesses expressing interest in supporting their vision. They weren't asking for a handout. They were inviting partnership. As she spoke, Jamie caught Mr. Alden's eyes. They were sharp, analytical. Would her words cut through the fog of routine? Could the fiery spirit amongst them open his heart to a cause that was tinged so deeply with the struggles of childhood? "What's the next step if you don't receive the funding?" Alden pressed, his voice steady. Jamie bit her lip, struggling to find a response. The reality of rejection loomed large. But Billy leapt in. "We want T-Stop. We'll organize fundraisers, get creative even if it means knocking on doors." His enthusiasm was electric. "We believe in ourselves and in each other." A smile broke across Mr. Alden's face, fleeting yet genuine. It was enough to fuel a flicker of hope in Jamie's heart. As they wrapped up, Alden leaned back, contemplating their passion, their resolve. "I'll need some time to think," he stated, the uncertainty hanging thick. Jamie's stomach twisted. The waiting the unknown could crush them all. As they filed out of the conference room, her heart was a storm of possibilities. What if it went well? What if it didn't? Outside, the sun glared down, stark against the emotions dancing inside. "No matter what, I'm proud of us," Billy said. His words floated on the air, bringing lightness. But what came next was still a question mark, dangling in the uncertainty. Would their voices be heard? Would this be a step toward transforming not just their community, but their lives? The journey was far from over. As they walked into the bright, expansive world, Jamie felt fear coiled tightly within, but also a spark of hope. Which would prevail in heart and mind, fear or faith? The answer lay just out of reach, waiting to unfold. The following week felt like an eternity as anticipation gripped the community. Jamie could hardly focus on her art, her mind a swirling storm of what-ifs. The beam of sunlight filtering through the window didn't feel warm. It felt heavy with doubt. Everywhere she went, she heard whispers about the meeting. What did Mr. Alden say? And will he really support them? Each question pierced Jamie's heart. Time dragged on, but she held on to hope with all her might. She could see the banners they had created together, signs of dreams held high like a lighthouse guiding them through troubled waters. Finally, the day arrived, a day that turned breath into excitement and turned the air thick with tension. Jamie stood with her friends at the community center, their heartbeats a syncopated dance, all of them yearning for Mr. Alden's answer. Then came the moment they had waited for. A sharp knock echoed through the center. Jamie, practically bouncing on her toes, opened the door. There stood Mr. Alden, his expression unreadable. But behind him, the sun cast rays that shone brightly upon the group, bouncing off his polished shoes. He stepped inside, and the swarm of kids quieted, anticipation hanging thick. "Thank you for gathering," he began, hands steepled in front of him, his posture serious. But something in his eyes seemed different. The usual veneer of indifference was cracked. Jamie felt a flicker of recognition within herself. This moment mattered. "I've spent a lot of time thinking about your proposal," Mr. Alden continued, scanning the eager faces in front of him. "And I recognize the importance of the work you're trying to do. I didn't realize how vital the community center was to so many kids, especially to the ones who feel lost." He paused, and in that silence, the world felt like it was standing still, hearts beating in unison, hanging on the edge of his next words. "I want to invest in your program, not just with funding, but with my support to help it grow and flourish." Shouts erupted like firecrackers around her. Jamie's mouth fell open. The realization crashed over her like a warming wave. They had done it. The dream they had chased, the hope they fought for, was becoming an incredible, tangible reality. Tears brimmed in Jamie's eyes as joy bloomed inside her chest. Her friends were hugging, laughter spilling out into the air, pure happiness weaving around them. One of the kids shouted, "Thank you, Mr. Alden," and a chorus formed, full of excitement and gratitude. Mr. Alden's own face softened in return, showing a genuine smile that revealed the human behind the billionaire mask. He looked around at the spirited youth, the very essence of life and hope. "Let us build this together," he said, his voice steady. "Let us change lives, shall we?" A burst of applause filled the room, a celebration of dreams realized and futures rewritten. Jamie felt as if her heart was swelling, as all of them stood in the light of new possibilities, and they were warm and bright. This was transformation not just for their community center, but for Mr. Alden too. They had awakened something within him. As she looked around the center, Jamie felt pride washing over her. They had shown him courage. They had shown him community. They had fought hard, and in the face of adversity, they had stood united. This moment, this change, would ripple out into the world, creating waves of hope for the generations to come. Later that day, as celebrations continued, Jamie found a quiet moment in the corner of the center, reflecting on the journey they had taken. She could see the banners flutter outside, a symbol of dreams no longer trapped but soaring. With a smile on her face, she whispered, "We did this." As she left the center that evening, hand in hand with her friends, they were not just children chasing dreams anymore. They were champions of change, proof that hope flourished when hearts united. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jamie knew this was only the beginning. They would rise again, again building, again fighting, for every dream and every kid who needed a chance. Now, dear friends, are you ready to be part of this journey? Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait, not even one more second to share this.